Okay, let's dive into this one. Picture this. It's a family get-together, Thanksgiving, just last year, 2024.
Right.
Everything's normal, family vibes,
Yeah.
and then something just really weird starts happening.
Yeah, this is a fascinating one. We're looking at a story that blew up a bit on Reddit, specifically in the no sleep section.
Exactly, no sleep, which, for anyone who doesn't know, it's this corner of the internet where people share these, well, often unsettling stories.
And they're presented as real, right? That's the key thing about no sleep.
Yeah, totally. Presented as if they actually happened to the poster.
Mm.
So this story asks a really fundamental question, I think.
Which is?
What happens when, like, an entire family, everyone, remembers someone super vividly,
Mm.
but there's a chance that person never actually existed?
It's that collective aspect that's so intriguing, isn't it? Not just one person's fuzzy memory, but a shared,
Yeah.
well, a shared something.
Totally. So the poster goes by Amanda. She talks about her family and this Uncle Matt. Yeah. Everyone in her family, she says they're really close-knit, which kind of adds to the confusion later. They all remember him. Holidays, jokes, the usual family stuff.
Okay, so he feels like a real part of the family fabric.
Absolutely. But then when they actually try and find, like, concrete proof he was ever there,
Let me guess. Nothing.
nothing. Zip. It's like he just evaporated. Or maybe was never there to begin with, leaving just this, I don't know, mental echo.
It immediately makes you question how memory even works, doesn't it? We like to think it's reliable, like a recording.
But maybe not so much, especially when it gets collective like this.
Yeah, it highlights that memory is more reconstructive. It's built, not just played back. And it can be influenced.
So let's paint the picture Amanda describes. It's a barbecue at her aunt's place. Pretty standard family scene.
Okay.
The aunt brings out hot dogs, maybe a bit overdone. And Amanda's mom makes a joke, something like, "Oh, looks like the family tradition lives on. Things always get a bit crispy on your side."
Ah, okay. A bit of friendly family ribbing, based on a supposed past event.
Exactly. Implying, someone on the aunt side is known for burning things. But then the aunt's husband looks confused, genuinely confused.
And asks what she means?
Yep. And Amanda's mom says, like last time, when Matt burned them.
The trigger moment. Enter Matt.
Right, but then Amanda's dad pipes up, totally baffled, asking, "Wait, isn't Matt your brother?" Talking to his wife, Amanda's mom.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, "No, he's on your side."
Yeah.
And suddenly, awkward silence.
And that detail Amanda mentioned about them being close-knit and usually not caring whose side someone's on.
Makes this sudden disagreement really stand out, yeah. It's not typical for them.
Because they usually wouldn't even think about it.
At first, apparently, there was some nervous laughter, like, "Oh, how silly of us, we can't remember."
A typical reaction to slight confusion.
But the laughter died pretty quick when the aunt and Amanda's mom both insisted, like totally certain Matt belonged to the other side of the family.
And that's the first big red flag, that contradiction.
Yeah, the first sign something's really off.
A shared memory, but with this core fundamental disagreement right at the center. It's peculiar.
So, okay, what do you do next? You look for proof, right?
Naturally, pull out the phone.
Exactly. Everyone starts scrolling, years of photos, holidays, birthdays, other barbecues.
No, man.
Not a single picture. It's like he was never in any of them, which, I mean, in this day and age.
It's weird for a family member you supposedly saw regularly.
Yeah.
To have zero photos. Highly unusual. Almost impossible, you'd think.
Then they try looking him up in their contacts. Amanda says she texted him, like, the week before.
Okay, so recent contact.
But her messages, gone. His number, vanished from everyone's phone.
Whoa, okay, that's different. That's not just faulty memory. That sounds like digital records changing.
Right. It's not just like, oh, I deleted his contact. It's like it was wiped clean for everyone.
So they're hitting dead ends everywhere.
Everywhere. They even filed a police report, just hoping for some official trace, birth record, driver's license, anything.
Yeah, and the police?
Couldn't do much. No evidence, no paper trail, nothing to confirm he even exists. Then someone apparently offered up this, like, super blurry photo of some bald guy with his back turned, saying that was proof.
Which sounds flimsy.
They totally dismissed. Because Amanda remembers Matt clearly having long red hair and being kind of short.
Okay, specific details.
But other family members remembered him being tall.
Ah, so the memories aren't even consistent about him, besides the core disagreement.
Exactly. The physical descriptions are all over the place. Short, tall, red hair, maybe no red hair. is a mess.
That's really significant. The lack of evidence is one thing, but the memories themselves being contradictory?
Suggests the memory itself is fractured, or maybe constructed differently by each person.
Could be.
But here's the really weird part, the detail that gets me.
Go on.
The one thing everyone's memory agreed on, the single consistent point in all this haze.
Was the disagreement about which side of the family he was on?
Yes.
Hmm?
That specific point of conflict was the only stable detail. Isn't that bizarre?
That is bizarre. It's like the argument itself is the core of the memory more than the person.
Yeah. And Amanda tells this story about her dad supposedly going fishing with Matt.
Okay.
But her dad is absolutely adamant, like, no, I went fishing with someone else. He remembers the trip, just not with Matt.
Wow. So the memories are actively conflicting with each other, even within the same person's recollections versus others.
Right. It just shows how unreliable these Matt memories seem to be.
Yeah.
And this leads Amanda to this really unsettling theory.
Which is?
That the harder they try to pin down a memory of Matt, the fuzzier and more distorted it becomes.
Like focusing makes it worse.
Yeah, almost like their minds have I think she called it a self-destruct program for Matt memories.
A self-destruct program. That's a powerful metaphor. It suggests some kind of active resistance in the brain to forming a clear picture.
Like trying to remember makes it dissolve.
Intriguing and unsettling.
So, later that same night, the gathering continues. The adults put the kids to bed, but they stay up. Obviously, still talking about Matt, trying to figure it out.
Makes sense.
Then things get even weirder. One of the kids comes out and says Uncle Matt visited them.
Visited them? Like, just then?
Yeah. Said he came down to the basement, brought them cookies, watched a movie with them, and then went back upstairs.
Okay. Wow. The kid's testimony, that throws a whole new wrench in things.
Doesn't it? Are they picking up on something the adults aren't? Or is it suggestion? Maybe they overheard the adults talking.
Or kids' imaginations, maybe blending with what they heard. It's hard to say.
The other kids apparently had slightly different stories. Some saw him, some didn't. But here's the kicker.
There's more.
The next morning, they find 12 place settings at the table. 12. Even though they only counted 11 people consciously there.
12 place settings? Okay, that's physical evidence. Harder to dismiss.
And then later, they find 12 people asleep on the sofas. 12.
Wait, 12 people. So an extra person physically present.
It seems like it. And like Matt was actually in the house, physically, even if no one consciously registered him being there or accounted for him.
That shifts things significantly, from memory anomaly to potential physical presence.
Then Amanda's dad gets this sudden flash of memory, like crystal clear. He remembers Matt handing him a glass of water.
A specific, mundane action.
But he describes the feeling. He used the word you, like implanted.
Implanted, like it wasn't his own memory.
Yeah, like it was put there. Not something he genuinely recalled himself.
That links back to Amanda's idea of Matt being like a virus, implanting memories.
It does, yeah. And apparently, every time they tried to count everyone in the house that night, they kept getting 12. One extra. Consistently.
So the head count confirms the feeling, confirms the place setting, confirms something extra was there.
Something or someone. So after Amanda leaves her aunt's house, this feeling of unease just grows. Especially when she tries to actively remember specific things about Matt.
And the memories that come up are...
They're just weird. Really specific, but odd. Like, she remembers him reading her a blender manual as a bedtime story.
A blender manual.
It's just specific, not a meat grinder manual, a blender manual. She remembers him just appearing in her house late at night sometimes.
Okay, that's creepy.
Gave her a hammer for Christmas one year.
A hammer for a kid?
Yep. And she has this memory of him putting a knife in her dad's car.
Whoa. Okay, those are unsettling memories. Specific, but definitely not your typical warm, fuzzy uncle moments.
Not at all. So, understandably, the family's freaked out. They try the police again.
But still no luck, I assume. No evidence.
Still nothing concrete, no proof Matt exists. And this is where Amanda really starts feeling like Matt is this virus.
Yeah.
Actively planting weird, unsettling memories.
A cognitive virus.
Yeah. Now, months have passed since that initial gathering, and the family, maybe as a coping mechanism, has kind of turned it into this dark joke.
How so?
They set an extra plate for Matt at family dinners now.
Wow. Okay. Humor as a way to deal with the inexplicable.
Yeah. Amanda says she feels like, despite how weird it all is, Matt hasn't actually hurt anyone. And maybe the appearances or their awareness of him seems to have faded a bit.
Less frequent occurrences.
Or maybe they're just noticing less.
Yeah.
But she's still determined. She wants to figure out what is actually going on.
You can't blame her. It's too strange to just let go.
Definitely. And this whole Uncle Matt thing, it really makes you think of other similar stories you sometimes hear about online, right?
Absolutely. It immediately brought to mind the Pan Bowen story for me.
Yes. The non-existent classmate. That's another classic internet mystery, isn't it?
It really is. And the parallel is striking this vivid memory of a person, shared in Matt's case, individual in Pan Bowen's, but with zero external proof.
So the Pan Bowen story, just to recap for anyone unfamiliar,
Mm-hmm.
it's someone writing about this kid, Pan Bowen, who they were friends with in middle school.
Right, clear memories, classes together, jokes, just normal school stuff.
But then Pan Bowen just disappears. Not just moves away, but vanishes from reality almost. No one else remembers him. Teachers, other students, nobody.
And crucially, he's not in any yearbooks, no old social media posts, nothing. Complete blank slate.
Which is the key difference, maybe. With Matt, the whole family remembers something, even if it's confused. With Pan Bowen, it's just the one narrator.
Exactly. One is collective but contradictory. The other is isolated but vivid. Both challenge our idea of memory and reality.
You know, it reminds me, slightly different angle, but I have this super clear memory from kindergarten.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had this friend, I swear, who had 6 fingers on one hand. I remember being totally obsessed with it, like wanting to count them all the time. I can picture his face.
A really distinct physical detail.
Totally. But whenever I've mentioned it to my mom over the years, she's like, nope, no memory of that kid at all. Complete blank.
Huh. That's a perfect little example, isn't it? How incredibly strong and real a memory can feel to you, even if no one else shares it.
Right. Makes you wonder. So, okay, let's talk possible explanations for Uncle Matt. What could be going on here?
Well, the most grounded explanation, psychologically speaking, is probably something related to the Mandela Effect.
Ah, yes, the Mandela Effect. Collective misremembering.
Exactly. It's this documented thing where large groups of people, totally unconnected, share the same false memory.
Like the Berenstain Bears spelling, right? Everyone remembers it ending in Enterstein, but it's actually N-A-Stain.
That's the classic example. Or people remembering Mickey Mouse wearing overalls he never wore in classic cartoons. Or Pikachu having a black tip on his tail.
Which he doesn't.
Nope. And the idea is that memory isn't perfect recall, it's reconstructive. Our brains fill gaps, we get influenced by suggestion, misinformation.
And maybe within a family, those suggestions and reconstructions can spread, like social contagion of memory.
Precisely. One person misremembers, tells the story, others incorporate it, reinforce it, and soon enough you have a shared but inaccurate memory.
Okay, so that's one possibility. What else?
Well, related to that is just the power of imagination and shared belief, especially in a tight-knit group.
Like the family.
Yeah. Maybe the idea of Matt started small. One person mentioned him, maybe jokingly, maybe conflating different people.
And it just grew. Through
Yeah.
retelling, people adding details, wanting to share on the memory.
Potentially. The desire for shared history is strong. People might unconsciously elaborate or confabulate details to fit the narrative until it feels completely real to everyone involved.
Okay, plausible. Then we get into the more out there ideas.
We do. If you want to get speculative, you could look at something like, say, the parallel universes theory from physics.
M theory and all that. Multiple realities.
Sort of. The concept, very simplified, is that if other universes exist, maybe sometimes they interact or brush up against each other.
And memories could spill over.
That's the hypothetical idea. Maybe in a nearby parallel reality, Uncle Matt is real, part of their family. And somehow, fragments of that reality, those memories, bled into their universe, leaving these confusing, inconsistent traces.
So the memories are real, just from somewhere else. Huh, that's a mind bender.
It is purely speculative, of course, but it offers a framework for why the memories might be both present and contradictory.
Okay, what else in the speculative zone?
Even further out there, you get ideas like this concept of a universe sensor.
A universe sensor, what's that?
Again, totally hypothetical.
Hmm.
But imagine some force or principle that edits reality. Maybe it removes people who find out too much or who don't quite fit.
So Matt discovered the meaning of life and got deleted.
Uh-huh. Maybe. Or maybe he just didn't belong in their timeline for some reason. The idea is his removal wasn't clean, leaving behind these memory fragments. Even that detail about him being bad at math is sometimes framed in these theories as like an arbitrary characteristic imposed by the censor during the removal.
Wow, okay, that's deep sci-fi territory. But it speaks to how profoundly weird The core mystery is that people reach for explanations like that.
It does. It shows the limits of our usual explanations when faced with something so fundamentally strange.
And thinking about Pan Bowen again, the classmate, that seems different, right? If it was just one person remembering.
Potentially. Some have suggested Pan Bowen might be more like a highly developed imaginary friend, or what's sometimes called a tulpa in certain belief systems.
A thought form, created by the person's own mind, maybe out of loneliness or something.
That's one interpretation. It feels different from the collective, shared experience of Matt, even with all its contradictions.
Right. Okay, so before we wrap up, we absolutely have to talk about the source of gang form, Reddit's No Sleep, because the rules there are really important context.
Crucial context. Understanding how no sleep works is key to interpreting any story that comes from there.
So rule number one, basically, everything has to be written in the first person.
I experienced this, not my friend told me this story.
Exactly. It has to sound like it happened directly to you, the poster. That creates this sense of immediacy.
It pulls the reader right in.
And rule number two is the big one, the truthfulness rule.
Which is a bit meta, isn't it?
Totally meta. It means every post, whether it's 100% true or 100% fiction, has to be presented as if it's completely real. You cannot break character.
And that applies to the comments, too, right? People commenting are supposed to act like they believe the story and are part of that world.
Yep. So if someone comments on Amanda's post, they should ideally act like maybe they're another confused family member or someone offering advice within the reality of the story. No one says, "Great story, dude."
It creates this deliberate suspension of disbelief, a kind of collaborative fiction where everyone agrees to treat it as real within that space.
So while the story is compelling and feels real, we have to remember the context it came from. It's a space designed for stories presented as real, regardless of their actual origin.
A very important piece of the puzzle.
So, yeah, Uncle Matt. This bizarre, lingering mystery. A whole family remembers him, but did he exist? Just hammers home how weird memory is, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How fluid, how suggestible, how collective memory can form and shift. It's fascinating.
It shows how memory isn't just this passive recording device. It's active. It's social.
And potentially influenced by things we really don't understand yet.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a kind of unsettling thought maybe. Could there be a Matt in your own past? Someone you remember so clearly, events that feel rock solid in your mind. But if you really dug down, if you tried to find the proof, would it actually be there?
It makes you question your own recollections, doesn't it? The certainty we often feel about our own past.
Yeah. How much is real? How much is reconstruction? How much is something else? Definitely food for thought.